I think the Dodgers were going to go 162-0. Actually, I think some of you actually did.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the podcast where I adjust my mic a little bit and tell you that we talk about baseball all season long. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but the best way to get a hold of me is right here by posting comments on the YouTubes. Let's go through a couple things before we get into what was a really fun, wild night of baseball yesterday. Wild night and wild afternoon. Let's go through the trivia question. The trivia question I had, and I got a whole bunch of answers for it. I found it interesting. And that was, the Reds had gone on their streak of 1-0 losses. And I said, what pitcher had the most 1-0 losses in their career? And I got a bunch of responses. Scott Horstmeyer, who's an everyday Sully, said Max Scherzer. Nope, not Max Scherzer. Stephen B. Knox Phils said, I'll go with Pud Galvin. He had a lot of losses, so I'm playing the odds. Not a bad guess. Let's go Phils. He said he's an everyday Sully, not Pud Galvin. Then Useless Trucker, who is constantly putting stuff on here, and I love it. Playing with statistics here, going with the pitcher who lost the most games, Cy Young. He lost 316 games. Never won the Cy Young. Clearly, he must qualify. He qualifies, but he's not the winner. Good try. I liked Stephen Colotrella's answer of Juan Marichal. It was wrong, but it's a good answer. Try the Ribs said, is it my favorite pitcher of all time? Bob Gibson. Nope. Good try, though. But Big John 08865 said, Walter Johnson. The big train is the correct answer. Walter Johnson lost 26 1-0 games. 26 times he came off the field and said, hey, guys, thanks. No, seriously, thanks. Couldn't have done anything. Could not have done anything. I appreciate it, and I thank you. So good job there on getting that one correct. And let's go through who owned baseball. It was a fun night of baseball yesterday on April 4th. It was on April 4th. Sorry, 2025. Today is April 3rd. I'm recording this Saturday morning. Corbin Carroll launched a pair of home runs. The Diamondbacks beat the Nationals by a score of 6-4. Tyler Mahle held the Rays to one hit and no runs over 5 innings. And the Rangers wound up winning that game. Jose Ramirez homered three times, and Cleveland took a wild 8-6 slugfest against the Angels. I will talk about Jose Ramirez a little bit at the end of the show. And Spencer Schwellenbach, that must be a hard name to put all those letters on the back of the jersey there, had a fantastic game. 8 innings, a 2-hit ball. Atlanta blanked the Marlins for the first win of the year. Atlanta won a game. And now Spencer Schwellenbach has a WOB total of 1.5. By the way, Jose Ramirez and Aaron Judge each have a WOB total of 2. We'll get to them at the end. Half WOBs yesterday. Brendan Donovan went 3 for 5 with a home run, but the Cardinals lost 13-9. Nice pitchers duel in Boston yesterday, and a very moving ceremony. I as someone who grew up in New England in the late 70s and through the mid 80s, the 1975 team, which were before my time, I was 3 years old, and according to the rule of 7, I don't remember it, but I remember so many of the players from that team because I remember the 78 and 79 team, and going and seeing Butch Hobson, my first favorite player, and Fisk, Rice, Yastrzemski, Evans, Burleson, Bill Lee, who I've been in documentaries and films about. There's a couple. Jim Willoughby was there. I mentioned Rick Miller, Steve Dillard, Bob Montgomery, Bernie Carbo. So many great players from that team, and they paid a beautiful tribute to Louis Tiant. And I'm not going to lie to you, my bottom lip quivered when I was watching it and seeing them. By the way, Dwight Evans, still incredibly handsome dude. I mean, he now has a shock of white hair, but good looking dude. And Jim Rice is, still a good looking dude. Um, Seeing Captain Carl Yastrzemski, he was there. He waved to the fans. Of course, Bill Lee gave him a gigantic hug because, Bill Lee is Bill Lee. I love Bill Lee to death. Captain Carl, he looked very frail, and I know he's gone through like bypass surgery, and he wasn't young when I was watching them. I was watching him when he was his late 30s, early 40s, when I was a little kid, and I'm 52. So you do the math in your head. I'm just happy to have those moments in the 50th anniversary. It did put a little bottom lip quivering when Sully was watching it. And yes, I just pulled a Ricky Henderson and called myself in the third person. Let's go over who else got half wobs. Kevin Gausman pitched into the sixth, pitched very well, but the Blue Jays were shut out by the Mets, 5-0. Jorge Polanco reached base 4 times, including a home run, and drove in 4, but the Mariners fell to the Giants in a wild home opener, a wild extra inning home opener, and the Giants won that one 10-9. Willie Adames got to be the game-winning hero in that game and introduce himself to the Giant fans. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto did not allow an earned run over 6 innings of 3 hit ball. He struck out 5 Phillies, but he did let up an unearned run, and the Dodgers lost their first game of the season. And yes, the Dodgers did lose a game. And by the way, Riley, who's listening to us, how about that snow globe game in Colorado yesterday? Yeah, I was watching that because Sacramento wound up beating Colorado. And it's funny, I was just talking with some people about, how great Denver is. And that's a place I could, could I live in Denver and such? And someone said, well, Denver's not that cold. And I looked over and I was watching the extra inning game between the A's and the Rockies, which, of course, is stupidly listed as Athletics and Colorado Rockies on baseballreference.com. They're the Sacramento A's. But as I'm watching the game, it's just snowing. It's the snow globe. I was expecting someone to say Rosebud and have the thing drop. How about that for an up-to-date reference? But yeah, that was anytime you look around and say, God, not a lot of people at the game. Yeah, it's freaking snowing. But the Dodgers and the Phillies, in what I think is going to be a National League Championship Series preview, I picked the Phillies to win it all. Obviously, the Dodgers could win it all. And if last night was any indication, as I listened to the game on the radio here in Pasadena, California, home of the Rose Bowl, Yamamoto and Jesus Luzardo locked antlers and gave us a wonderful ball game. And both teams played, both teams pitched wonderfully. And there was basically a throwing error in the first inning, allowed it to be a 1-0 Philadelphia lead. And they hung on to that lead. And they wound up putting on a couple of insurance runs. But then, of course, in the 9th inning, the Dodgers rallied. I'm listening to the game. And you had, Betts stole a base. And Edman hit a home run. Boy, the acquisition of Edman, talk about that was an under-the-wire acquisition. How amazing has that trade paid off for them? And then when Will Smith, who I call Louisville Smith, walked, and Max Muncy came up to bat for Kiki Hernandez, because we're going to have to you're not going to have Freddie Freeman for a little bit. He's on the injured list, but they can manage. They managed in the NLCS without him. We all thought Max Muncy was going to hit a 2-run home run. I mean, absolutely. There was not an ounce of my body that did not think that Max Muncy was not going to hit a home run, but he wound up striking out. And with that, the Dodgers are 8-1. 8-1. Now the Padres could have leapfrogged the Dodgers if they had held on to win, but they lost to the Cubs. The Cubs beat the Padres. I bet the Cubs wish they beat them in 84, but there you go. And so, but with that, and the Giants wound up winning that extra inning game. The Giants are now the hottest team in baseball. They've won their last 5 games. There's 3 teams in the National League West with only 1 loss. And the Diamondbacks are slowly chipping their way back up there. They won yesterday, as I mentioned. Corbin Carroll hit a pair of home runs after they've locked up their team for the next bunch of years. So, you're starting to see that NL West being, hey, you can go on a great streak, but you're not running away with anything. And that's one of the important things. The Dodgers got out of the gate going 8-0. If San Diego and San Francisco got out of the gate stumbling out of the gate, they'd be 3 or 4 games back about a week into the season. And then the Dodgers just could put the half thrusters on. Essentially, the Padres and the Giants kept pace. And at one point, the Dodgers are going to go on a slump. That's all there is to it. And, the Padres lost, but, they're still hanging around. Again, taxes aren't even due. It's way too early to look at standings. But what I am saying that is important is when you have a team that everyone in their cow picked to win the World Series, except me, and they come out of the gate just like the ships in Battlestar Galactica, just shooming right out of the side, and that the other teams can keep pace. It's like when you have another team throwing a no-hitter, but it's 0-0. You keep pace with them at all times. Don't let them get away. And with that, you're going to see what should be a really, really fun National League West race. When we come back, we're going to talk about still one of my least favorite things to happen in a baseball game, and that is taking a pitcher out during a no-hitter. Let's hear from our friends over at Supply House. Now, Supply House is the site made for skilled trades. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, even more than that, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com. Now, let me talk about our good friends over at, and I got it right here. Where is it? Right there. Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP, and let's face it, future Hall of Famer Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I like that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without all that artificial junk. And whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visiting justingredients.com. That's where you go and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, doing it live, folks. Just follow Just Ingredients on Instagram, just.ingredients on Instagram. Well, sometimes a bad word will slip out. Unintentional, please don't give this a MA rating. Look, I understand that it's early in the season. You don't want to blow people's arms out. I do. I get that. I'm not as dumb as some of you think I am. And I also understand that, we're the most important thing in this point of the year is to win games. And with both central divisions completely just airlocked, every little win you get here and there, especially against a division rival, is critical. Right now, 3 teams are tied for first place in the AL Central, and they all have losing records. 1 game separates the top from the bottom, and 3 games separate the top from the bottom in the Central and the National League. A win here or a win there is the difference. I get that. And the most important thing for the Milwaukee Brewers last night was to win a baseball game against a offensively starved team known as the Cincinnati Reds. And the end result of the game was a win for the Milwaukee Brewers. For the 23,000 fans who showed up at Miller Park, or whatever they're calling it these days, I honestly don't know what they're calling it these days. That's not me being glib. I honestly don't know. Oh, Riley, by the way, was an Everyday Sully. He said, "What's the answer to trivia?" It was Walter Johnson. There you go. And so the most important thing for the Reds is they won, and for Milwaukee is that they won. They won the game. They won the game against a division rival, head to head. They won a 1-run game. Tyler Alexander got the win. Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, they all pitched well out of the bullpen. And in fact, the pitching did not let up an earned run the entire game. So the Reds' offense is still anemic. The Reds did wind up scoring 2 runs, 2 unearned runs, but still. And it was yet another 1-run loss for the Cincinnati Reds. 4 straight games that they have a 1-run loss. They are 2-6. 2-6, and 4 of those games are 1-run losses, and one of them was a game they were 1 out away from winning. They lost by 2 runs. So 5 of their 6 losses could very easily be Cincinnati Red wins. And so the binary mentality of the Central is, hey, the Brewers won a game within the division, and that's what's important. But you know what? I'm going to say one thing. If you're trying to spark the team, isn't a no-hitter the kind of thing that does that? Tyler Alexander, okay? Tyler Alexander, who is, this isn't about a young kid. This is a guy who is 30 years old, threw 100 innings last year as a spot starter, has never thrown a complete game. This is his first start of the year, so he's being pressed into pitching. So maybe you're saying, all right, he's a reliever, so he's not used to going deep in the game. All right, I'll understand all that. But he was throwing a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 6th inning. 2 outs in the 6th inning. The man was throwing a no-hitter. 2 outs in the 6th inning with nobody on. It's not as if if he had walked a ton of batters. This is the situation. If he's a reliever turned starter, and oh my God, he's it's a no-hitter, but it's like the one that Edwin Jackson had when he pitched for the Diamondbacks. No offense, Edwin Jackson, wonderful career. He threw in a freaking no-hitter, but in his, he walked a bunch and hit a bunch of batters. There was 2 outs, nobody on. Let's bring in Abner Uribe to come in and relieve him. No offense, Abner Uribe, who is a major league pitcher. He's pitched 50 or 49 games in the major leagues. Okay. He's a major league pitcher. Fine. Why would you take him out? Why wouldn't you at least give him the chance to, go into the 7th with a no-hitter? And, if he had let up a hit at any point, if he had let up a hit with 2 outs in the 6th, I can understand. You know what? Here you go. You gave us more than we thought as a spot starter. Why would you not give him that shot? That makes 0 sense to me. Now, again, that could have been a great moment for the Brewers. A great highlight for the Brewers could be the thing that sparks the team. Or, it could be the biggest highlight in his career. If he let up a hit, great. He let up a hit, then you take him out. But I don't understand what he's thrown. He hasn't thrown 100 pitches. He was pitching well. He threw 83 pitches, which I'm sure when they put Tyler Alexander in there think, give us 5 solid innings, and everyone on the planet Earth would be fine with that, except he was throwing a freaking no-hitter. He walked 3 batters. Okay, he struck out 6. And Abner Uribe did let up a pair of hits, and then eventually the Reds wound up scoring 2 unearned runs. And the Brewers won the game. And in so many ways, that's the most important thing. But I don't understand it. Someone explain it to me. You know, what are we doing? Why wouldn't you give this guy the chance to have the moment of his career, the greatest moment of his time there? Someone use little words to explain that to me, because it makes negative sense to me. Negative. As for the Reds, you guys better start hitting. You're playing well. They could be one of those teams like the Padres or the Giants with only 1 loss. Instead, they look like, oh, they're off to a rotten start, because they better start. They better do something. At this point, I'm like going, do you sign, JD Martinez? Because not that he's going to be, with no spring training, I'm not that he's going to come in and be a great hitter, but he strikes me as a guy who has forgotten more about hitting than most people will ever know. And I don't know, this team needs something to spark this offense, because their pitching has been terrific. And that's the thing that's the most frustrating if you're a Reds fan going on this stretch where you've had 4 straight 1-run losses, and the opening day loss where they were 1 out away from winning, is they're getting the pitching. Excuse me, at some point, they're not going to have that pitching. And when that happens, you're going to look back and say, oh, man, we should have been stockpiling those wins when we had a chance. The way that the Brewers won. I guess I shouldn't get on their case too much, but damn, you had a chance for a no-hitter. There's nothing better than catching a Major League Baseball game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of the ballpark food. And I'm going to be doing that next week. My first game of the year, I'm going to Sacramento. That's right. I'm going to see the Sacramento A's play a game. How am I going to get my tickets? I'm going to use Gametime with last-minute deals, all-in prices, and the lowest price guaranteed. Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as the game time gets closer, meaning you could score an incredible deal. You know what? I'm going to be using Gametime to get those A's tickets in Sacramento. And if the attendance on the first couple of games are any indication, I should be waiting until just around first pitch, and I could get a great deal. And you know what? They have unbeatable prices, which meant more. If I go there, I'm going to pick up some merch and some food and some things to enjoy Sacramento. I've been to a minor league game in Sacramento. I'm now going to a major league game. And make the Gametime Picks features makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discount in the stadium. I could see the view before I buy, can preview my exact seat before purchasing. No bad surprises when I get into the stadium. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices, they're guaranteed. By the way, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. And check out some of the other great shows, including Locked On Yankees. You hear my good friend Stacey Gatsulias talking about the Yankees as they are off to a fantastic start themselves. And they won big the other day. So check out all the shows on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Now, hey, it looks like my mom's listening. Hi, Mom. I almost said a bad word earlier. Good thing my mom didn't hear me say that. I got a comment the other day from Useless Trucker, who's always posting something here. You need to talk about Aaron Judge. His numbers are too good to bring up. I assume that's not, and I'm not going to, poke fun too much. Yes, Aaron Judge is off to one of those unbelievable video game character starts, and it's borderline ridiculous. It is borderline ridiculous. Some of his numbers. He homered again. The other day, and he's hitting home runs at an absolute, kind of mind-boggling rate right now. I had up something here. Where is it pulling up? He already has He already has 6 homers, which is, which is a lot. And he already has, he's already on a rampage where you're basically looking at him as that, as the write-in ink AL MVP until proven otherwise. Sarah Langs, if you don't follow Sarah Langs either on Twitter or whatever they're calling it now, or Blue Sky or whatever you follow Sarah Langs. This is something she wrote yesterday afternoon. The most RBI in the team's first 7 games of the season since the RBI became an official stat. Aaron Judge, Chris Davis, and Pat Burrell all had 17 RBIs over the first 7 games of the season. Chris Davis in 2013, Pat Burrell in 2005. And Judge is the only one of them to have 5 home runs, let alone 6. But Katie Sharp, who's another great follow, had this stat, and this is what blew me away. This is the list of Yankees who have hit 6 home runs, 17 RBI, 4 walks, and 2 stolen bases in any 7-game span, not just the beginning of the year, any 7-game span. These are the Yankees who have done that. Hit 6 homers, drove in 17, walked 4 times, so they're not just, they're getting on base 2, and added 2 stolen bases in any 7-game span. Here is the list of Yankees who have done that. Aaron Judge this year. That's it. No, not Mickey Mantle. Nope, not Joe DiMaggio. Nope, not Bernie Williams, not Babe Ruth, not Lou Gehrig. Nope, not Tony Lazzari. Nope, not Reggie Jackson. Nope, not Derek Jeter, not Alex Rodriguez. Nope, not Horace Clark, not Paul Zavella, not Wayne Tollison, not Mark Salas, not Ken Phelps. I can go all day. Not Dan Goulden, not Juan Beniquez, not Rupert Jones, not Bobby Meacham. How many more obscure Yankees could I just gurgle up like that? Not Pete Incaviglia. Remember he played for the Yankees for a little bit longer than I did. Yeah, Aaron Judge is right now the leader in the clubhouse. He is going to have another 50-some-odd home run season, and that is tremendous year. And he's on another planet right now. He's absolutely on another planet. By the way, I also want to bring up, I was listening to the Angels Cleveland game last night because I can't watch it because it's blacked out because they play in Orange County. I also couldn't watch the Phillies Dodgers game, not because they're blacked out, but because they were on Apple TV. So therefore, nobody could see it. You have this great matchup. Let's make sure nobody can see it. And that's and I've said it before. I will say it again. A sentence that's never been said is, "Oh, the game's on Apple TV. Good." No, put them all in one place. Let's watch the games. A couple of days ago, it looked like Jose Ramirez was hurt, and I always panic whenever I see a baseball player get hurt. I always think, "Oh God, that's it. That's the end of their career. They're never going to play again. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Their season's over." And then when I saw Jose Ramirez, or I was listening to the game, and Jose Ramirez was in the lineup, like, oh, good. He's still in the lineup. I hope he can still hit. He hit 3 homers. And he is now slashing a 381 batting average, a 440 on base percentage. His slugging percentage is over 1,000. His OPS right now is 1.488. He already has 4 home runs, 3 of them last night. He is okay, Sully. He's really okay. I got to stop panicking when I see players get hurt. All right, so that's all we got for today, except for the trivia question. And the trivia question is going back to Aaron Judge, who led the American League in home runs last year, and he didn't lead it the year before, but he led it the year before that. Now, there have been a couple of Yankees who have led the league in home runs over the years. Some of them have done it back-to-back, but here is my question. Here's a trivia question. Who is the first Yankee to lead the American League in home runs in back-to-back seasons? The first Yankee to lead the league in home runs in back-to-back seasons. And I'll give you a tiny hint. He is a famous name in Yankee history, but more famous for being part of Yankee lore in another way other than hitting home runs. It's a name in Yankee history who you probably wouldn't associate with hitting lots of home runs, but he was indeed the first one to lead the league in home runs in back-to-back seasons. That's your trivia question for tonight. And leave it right here. You can leave it at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. You can also, the best way to get hold of it, put the answers right here on the YouTube comments. Talking about the Dodgers finally losing and the NL West being a tight place to play. The Braves getting off the schneid. No hitters, give them a shot. And Aaron Judge and Jose Ramirez, do you know what? It turns out they're good. This has been Locked On MLB for the 5th day of April, 2025. Have a good weekend, everyone. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.